Women, Caste and Reform Part 1. Women, Caste and Reform is the 7th chapter of Class 8 NCERT History. Part 1 uncovers the 18th century India, which was an age burdened with social evils like sati, child marriage, caste discrimination and many more. The society was trapped in rigid customs and deep injustice. Among its greatest victims were women, and from their sufferings rose the first cry of reform. The topics to be explored in detail in this video are: number 1, social challenges in the 18th century Indian society; number 2, working towards change; number 3, Raja Ram Mohan Roy; number 4, steps taken for widow remarriage; number 5, girls going to school; number 6, women write about women; number 7, law against child marriage; and number 8, some important questions for recap. Social challenges in 18th century Indian society. 18th century Indian society had many challenges because it was marked by deep-seated social evils due to a rigid decaying feudal structure, extreme patriarchal norms and the collapse of central authority after the decline of the Mughals. Superstition, caste rigidities and severe gender discrimination were justified by misused religious interpretations and lack of education. The following were the major social evils that gripped the society. Most girls were married at an early age. Both Hindu and Muslim men could marry more than one wife. Widows were praised if they chose death by burning themselves in the funeral pyre of their husband and became sati. Women's right to property were also restricted. Most women did not have access to education. In many parts of the country, people believed that if a woman was educated, she would become a widow. Not only gender discrimination prevailed in the society, but also caste discrimination prevailed. The Brahmins and the Kshatriyas considered themselves as upper caste. The traders and moneylenders, referred to as Vaishyas, were placed after them. The peasants and the artisans, known as the Shudras, occupied the fourth position. At the very bottom of the social hierarchy were the untouchables, who labored relentlessly to keep cities and villages clean, yet their work was deemed polluting, so much so that even their shadow was believed to cause a loss of caste. They were not allowed to enter temples, draw water from the wells used by the upper caste, or bathe in the ponds used by the upper caste for bathing, because they were seen as inferior human beings. However, over the 19th and the 20th centuries, the society slowly started changing as the perception of the people started changing due to the efforts of our social reformers. Working towards change. From the early 19th century, a new chapter began in the journey of social awakening in India. Debates and discussions on social customs and practices, led by prominent intellectuals, gradually reached a wider public and became closely linked with broader movement for social reform. Important factors responsible for this new change were: number 1, development of new forms of communications like newspapers, books, and pamphlets. These were much cheaper and accessible than manuscripts. This encouraged the common people to read and express their ideas in their own language on all types of issues. Number 3, in the rapidly growing new cities, a new intellectual awakening began to take shape. Questions concerning society, politics, economy, and religion were openly debated, and for the first time, both men and women stepped forward to participate in these discussions. Number 4, these debates did not remain confined to small circles. They reached a wider audience and became deeply connected with the larger movement for social reform and transformation. And number 5, at the heart of these discussions were Indian reformers and organized reform groups who boldly challenged our age-old customs. Raja Ram Mohan Roy. People who courageously challenged the age-old unjust practices and sought to reshape the society along more progressive lines were described as social reformers. They believed that true change could not be imposed, it had to be inspired. By changing the mindset of the people, they understood that unless our social drawbacks were removed, India could neither achieve independence nor take rightful pride in its cultural heritage. One such reformer was Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who is also called the father of Indian Renaissance or revival. He founded the reform association called the Brahmo Samaj. He felt that change was necessary in the society. He wanted to spread the knowledge of Western education and bring about greater freedom and equality for women. He wrote about the way women were forced to bear the burden of domestic work and not allowed to move out and become educated. Changing the lives of the widows. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is remembered in history as a pioneering reformer who courageously fought to transform the lives of the widows and challenge the inhuman practice of sati. As he was well versed in Sanskrit, Persian, and several other Indian and European languages, he tried to show through his writings that the practice of widow burning had no sanction in ancient texts. No sanction in ancient text meant that burning widows had no approval or support or permission in our ancient scriptures. As a result of his campaign, sati was banned by the British in 1829. The strategy of Ram Mohan Roy was adopted by other reformers also. They also started quoting the ancient text itself to prove that no evil practices were part of our early tradition. Steps taken for widow remarriage. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar also used ancient texts to prove that widows were allowed to remarry. His suggestion was adopted by the British to pass a law in 1856 permitting widow remarriage. By the second half of the 19th century, the movement in favor of widow remarriage spread to other parts of the country. In the Telugu-speaking area of Madras, Virsa Lingam Pantulu formed an association for widow remarriage. In North Arya Samaj, the association formed by Swami Dayanand Saraswati also supported widow remarriage. Around the same time, young intellectuals in Bombay pledged themselves to work for the same cause. Yet the number of widows who actually remarried remained low as they were not easily accepted and the conservative groups continued to oppose the new law. Girls going to school. The emerging social reforms of the 19th century heralded a significant shift championing the causes of women's education as reformers believed that only education could truly uplift and transform the life of a woman. By mid-19th century, schools for girls had been established through the persistent efforts of reformers such as Vidyasagar in Calcutta and other progressive leaders in Bombay. In the later part of the 19th century, schools were established by the Arya Samaj in Punjab and Jyoti Rao Phule in Maharashtra. However, very few girls went to school as many believed that it would prevent them from doing their domestic duty and would corrupt them as girls had to travel through the public places to reach their school. Therefore, throughout the 19th century, most educated women were taught at home by liberal fathers or husbands. Sometimes women taught themselves. In aristocratic Muslim households in North India, women learned to read the Quran in Arabic. They were taught at home. Some reformers like Mumtaz Ali reinterpreted verses from the Quran to argue for women's education. Women write about women. When women began to speak for themselves, the reform movement entered a new era. Their courage transformed the struggle from a plea for sympathy into a demand for justice, proving that they were no longer willing to wait for change. They were ready to create it. From early 20th century, Begum of Bhopal started playing the notable role in promoting education among women. They founded a primary school for girls at Aligarh. Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat started schools for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. She was a fearless critic of conservative ideas and argued that religious leaders of every faith accorded an inferior place to women. By 1880s, women started going to universities, some qualified qualified as doctors and some as teachers. Many women started writing and publishing their critical views about the position of women in the society. Tarabai Shinde, a woman educated at home in Pune, published a book named Stri Purush Tulna. It criticized the social difference between men and women. Pandita Ramabai, a great scholar of Sanskrit, felt that Hinduism was oppressive towards women. She wrote a book about the miserable life of upper caste Hindu women. She founded a widow's home in Pune where she not only educated them but also trained them to support themselves economically, as she believed that true freedom begins with economic independence. So by the end of 19th century, women had emerged as determined participants in the reform movement, taking bold steps to secure their rights and reshape their destiny. From the early 20th century, women began organizing political pressure groups, demanding suffrage, better health care, and access to education. By the 1920s, many had stepped boldly into nationalist and social movements, transforming their struggle for rights into a powerful force for national change, and thus the struggle for women's rights became inseparable from the struggle for the nation's freedom. Law against child marriage. With the growth of women's organization, people started challenging the established custom of child marriage. Indian legislators in the Central Legislative Assembly fought to make a law preventing child marriage. In 1929, the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed. According to it, no boy below 18 and no girl below 16 could marry. Subsequently, this limit was raised to 21 for men and 18 for women. The Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed without the kind of bitter debates and struggles that earlier laws had seen. It signaled something extraordinary, an awakened society with an evolving mindset. Thus, the battle against social evils became the foundation upon which the dream of independence was built. Some important questions for recap. Number 1. What were the main challenges faced by the Indian society in the 18th century? Number 2. What major factors played a pioneering role in initiating social awakening in India? Number 3. Why is Raja Ram Mohan Roy regarded as the father of Indian Renaissance? Number 4. What measures were adopted by the social reformers to legalize widow remarriage? Number 5. By the mid-19th century, despite the establishment of girls' school, why only a few girls attended school? Number 6. Assess the role of women reformers in transforming the status of women. And number 7. Discuss the progressive initiative undertaken by Pandita Ramabai for women's emancipation. In part 1, we witnessed how 18th century society silenced its women and how courageous reformers rose to challenge these injustices, lighting the first torch of social awakening. But the chains of oppression did not end there. In part 2, we confront the rigid walls of caste discrimination and relentless reform movement that dared to break them, because the true awakening of a nation begins when every human being is treated with dignity. Thank you for watching and staying with Indrani's History channel, where history awakens mind and ignites change. If you found the lesson helpful, please like, share and subscribe.